Hi everyone, this is Karen here, just doing a quick summary from our first two sessions last week and just some updates and hopefully just remind you to keep you on track so that you are practicing and completing the exercises so that you can then pull them up whenever you need them. So last week we had our first and second sessions and we talked about the background of why we use horses and what I've learned from horses as far as leadership, emotional control, communication, and creating a lot of calm in my life. So the first couple of pages was asking you to read through and agree that you will respect each other, that you abide by the arena rules, etc., etc. And it's really important to sign this page, because when we have a commitment to ourselves or to anyone else, write it down, because writing it down kind of puts it in front of you at your, in your windscreen, if you like, so that it can remind you. Then we went over the pre-reading. I'd updated it, so I'll ask you to read that again. And why we came here, which of course is who we are, is we are the outcome of our interpretations of every event that has happened to us in the past. And each interpretation will lead to some conclusions, which will then develop into habits and beliefs. And it's when we're doing this and kind of learning more about ourselves, we actually have to delve into those how we got here moments, such as events in our life that we got these conclusions, and they often work for us up to a point and then they stop working. So it's now time at this point in life to discover what we can let go that is no longer serving us. We also, in your notes, you've got some reference to the vagus nerve, which is the scientific part of your fight or flight or freeze responses. And you've also got some extra resources. So we touched on strengths and values. For those people who had to leave on time, your values are on page 8. And there's some links to the strengths and values as well. Alrighty, we also went through the happy hormones. So dopamine, the reward hormone, this is when you complete something, you've finished something, and it gives you the feeling or the emotion of exhilaration or bliss, because it gives you a lot of self-recognition as well, and it certainly is valuable for your self-worth to increase that. So oxytocin is the hormone of love. It creates a feeling of excitement, of belonging, of feeling loved and included. And it is released when you hug, hold hands, playing with a pet, etc. So then we've got the endorphins, which are known as the painkiller hormone. And women and fathers actually experience this at the birth of a child. So they can often kind of make you forget about the pain of childbirth. And you'll often hear parents say that when our first child was born, or when each of our children were born, it changed our lives. It gives you a feeling of euphoria. And that's why it is such a powerful hormone. Then we've got serotonin, and serotonin is called the mood stabilizer and is done with gentle exercise. So endorphins are also released during strenuous exercise, and such as loud laughing as well is included in that. And whereas serotonin is the more gentle exercise, but also kind of stimulates energy throughout the body. It gives you an emotion of well-being, relaxed feeling, and those are the ways that you can achieve it. So then when we went into the arena, it was about relationships. Relationships with yourself is our top priority in this session. And we went through why is it important to work on our relationships, the relationship we have with ourselves first before we can impact on anyone else's relationship. And that goes back to a lot of our interpretations and beliefs, and that creates our own self-worth. And so it's important that we build up our own self-worth, especially if we're going to be caring for people in the future that might need our help, we have to be rock solid in who we are before we can help anyone else. So there's a list there on the slides, some questions to stimulate some thoughts. We also touched on the languages of love, and also there's some information on developing a growth mindset in your books. All right, so we teach others how to treat us by the way we treat ourselves. And again, that is really going back to our relationship with ourselves has to be rock solid for us to be able to lead and guide and help others. So we really have to evaluate what that is first. We also touched on the languages of love. There's quality time. So I will ask in your home play that you have a review and see what kind of makes you feel the most loved out of those 5 languages. And often we have 1 or 2 love languages, not usually more, but definitely a high priority one followed by a secondary one. So that's also, if you can have a think about what your language of love might be and that of someone who's close to you that you know very well. You may even have to ask them. All right, so then our second session in the arena was all about please and thank you, communication, boundaries, problem solving, and leadership. I know there's a lot to take in, and that's the beauty of working with the horses, because life doesn't just come to us in our own time. We have to be able to work with multiple things at once. And I'm not indicating that we should multitask. That's completely different. It's just about expanding our awareness to be aware and make better decisions for ourselves and for others. So we touched on the 4 levels of pressure with the horse, giving the look, then followed by the finger, by the gentle touch and the harder touch. And then our thank you, so that's our please, and then our thank you is the release of pressure. And then we're also thinking about our intention. It is pointless starting a conversation if you have no intention, or if you're not sure of the intention of the outcome that you want. So there's a bit on that in your notes. And then a large part of this one was boundaries. How did you interpret the instructions around boundaries? What assumptions did you make? And then there's a couple of exercises in your booklet to go through. What boundaries do I need to implement? And how will I follow through? So we'll recap on that when we come back on our next 2 sessions. So we also started on a bit of planning and problem solving, and you have in your booklets a couple of graphics to help you on that one. And we started working with leadership. So everyone was taking turns in this session to be the leader and what that means. And I would ask you at this point to think back and say, okay, how would you rate your own leadership? How would you rate other people's without naming anyone? So what did you see other people doing in there when they were leaders? And often things that we see in other people that could be improved, we could actually improve ourselves as well. So have a little think about that, how you think your leadership rated, how you think other people's leadership went, and have some comparisons and ideas of how you can improve your own. So this is the graphic which you have in your books about problem solving, especially with the team. There are actually many more ways to help you with problem solving, but this gives you a pretty good grounding that you can use. If you want to learn more about problem solving as a team, I can certainly help you on that, but it's not included in this program. All right, and then, so they were our 2 sessions. So a relationship with us first, and that's the one that I want you to mostly work on, and then with others. And then the second one is about more self-discovery, about your problem-solving skills, your communication skills, your listening skills, and boundaries, and where you need to put those boundaries in place. So your home play is reread the pages from 2 till 21, add or expand on any notes that you've created, add to your strengths, and there's a link to a simple online character strength survey on page 7. And remember, there's 2 types of strengths: is character strengths and functional strengths. The functional strengths are those that can be measured or demonstrated to other people, such as an academic skill or a sporting prowess, etc., that people you can actually demonstrate and people can see. Then I'll ask you to complete the values exercise if you haven't done it. The people that stayed behind did this exercise, but it's there in your books as well underneath your strengths list. So start writing up what your strengths are. You can do your survey if that helps. And also have a look at values, because a number of people had never kind of really thought about what their values are, and that will make a big difference in your life if you know what your values are. Think about your languages of love and decide what they are, and find out the language of love of someone close to you or several people close to you. It's up to you. You might have to actually verbally ask them. They may not know what it is. Just refer back to that diagram and ask them, of all of these things, which do you feel you are most loved when they're given to you or demonstrated to you? Then we've got, I'll get you to complete the exercises on boundaries and problem solving on pages 17 and 19. And then practice our 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 activity to help you become present when anxiety hits. Now, any of these activities you must practice in order to embed them in your life so that you can bring them up in a heartbeat to help you stay calm. Alrighty, so remember, this is not really about horsemanship, but it is about the art of mastering our own movements, thoughts, and emotions and behaviors. So we're using horses to actually give us feedback on how we're doing for that. And also a great kind of non-judgmental, sentient being that can give us feedback. So it's about the art of mastering our own movements, thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, not the horses. All right, coming up next week, we had a request to do a very quick personality profile. You'll be crafting your rest and recovery priority and criteria. That's on the handout that you got in your booklets. We're also going to do our 5-minute vagal nerve reset. And the 2 equine sessions in the arena are all about communication, including intention as well, decision-making and mindset. And then we're going to just practice the tools that you are creating for yourself. So when you start taking care of yourself, you start feeling better, you start looking better, and you attract better. And it all starts with you. So thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Remember, next week, the 4th of July, we're starting at midday. So get here at 11:45 to check in, go to the toilet. So we're all ready to go so that we can get as much practice in as possible. So from me to you, have a great week. Bye.